Hi, freaks, and welcome to another episode. My name is Matt, and joining me tonight is the lovely Sue. Looking ravishing tonight, Sue. Is that a new hair color we're wearing tonight?
Yes, I actually dyed it literally an hour ago.
Wow. With what?
2 shades of green.
2 shades of green. Wow. Very spooky. Was that for Halloween?
Yes.
Sure. And also joining us is Nathan. Hello, Nathan. Are you ready for the 3D? In the spirit? I wish I'd worn my 3D glasses during the film.
Yeah, I wish I had to be honest. I think I have the blue and red one somewhere.
I don't know if they work anymore, but on the view that I was watching the streaming, it looked a little bit out of focus, so I grabbed these cinema ones and put them on just to see if it worked. I don't know if it actually did or not, but it made it look better.
Ah, I should try that.
Anymore.
Yeah.
It didn't quite the same effect as the cinema, but I think it helped.
Okay, we'll have to give it a go. So are you drinking tonight, you guys? Have you got a little tipple going?
Mm-hmm.
Wine, coffee, and I've got some Coke Zero with maybe some contraband in it.
Hitting the hard stuff this time.
You know, it's midweek. It's been a long week. Why not? So let's get into it. So we're on our Friday the 13th box set. So I'm calling this the Jason Lives trilogy, because these are all the ones where Jason, obviously in the first film, he only made a little cameo. But these 3 films are the ones where he is alive and kicking. No spoilers, but maybe after the final chapter, things change. So last fortnight, we reviewed Friday the 13th Part 2, and we gave it a big old pash. This week, we're reviewing Friday the 13th Part 3. It's the third installment of Friday the 13th, which means it's filmed in 3D. Continuing one day after the events of Part 2, homicidal maniac Jason Voorhees steals some clothes and brutally kills the local store owners. Meanwhile, Chris is enjoying the weekend away with a group of friends at her family's lake house. It's not pranks to Shelley or a local biker gang that ruin the weekend. It's the fact that Chris's lake house is on Crystal Lake. It's not long, as you'd imagine, before Jason begins picking them off one by one. Okay, so yeah, Friday the 13th Part 3. So Nathan, when was the last time you saw this film?
Would have been a long time ago at the Capri Cinema. Actually, probably with you guys in 3D, maybe like a midnight Friday the 13th screening. So it was a good one. It was a special one.
And Sue, how about you?
That's my memory of the movie. But yeah, things changed a little bit over time.
Well, that would have been the last time I saw it like on the big screen, but I have the box set at home, so I know I would have watched it when I first bought it, and probably on a few Friday the 13th since, because even though I have the box set, there's like 3 or 4 that I watch more than other ones. So yeah. And that would have been one of the ones I would have watched a bit more, I think. What about you, Matt?
So yeah, I think I'm not sure. I watch them all the time, sort of reoccurringly. So it's probably was only maybe within the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do love my Friday the 13th.
Yeah, they're definitely you.
They are my favorite of the horrors. So let's talk about the production. What did you think of Friday the 13th? Oh, first of all, we haven't gone through the stats yet. So this was released on the 10th of February 1983. It was directed by Steve Miner, who also directed Part 2 and was the writer for the original one. it made a box office of $36.7 million. It's currently sitting at 5.7 on IMDb and has a 7% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think that's pretty bad.
7%.
7%.
Oh, for God's sake, that's ridiculous.
I know.
Honestly, that's just silly. It's like production-wise, I think it had actually a really good look. Like, especially, you know, the really long intro with those hillbilly people and the rabbit and stuff. Like, that scene, I thought it looked really nice. Like, some of the shots outside were well done. I thought, like, the lighting was really nice and stuff. That scene was too long, though.
Okay. So I think the opposites. I disagree with you. Just because a lot of the daytime stuff was fine, but a lot of the stuff that was in the cabins and running around at nighttime, I really didn't like the lighting because it just felt overly lit, and that didn't feel real to me. It just felt like they were on a soundstage or a film shoot.
Yeah, so it was filmed on. Yeah. It was filmed on location. The cabin itself and the barn were all purpose built for the movie, and it famously stuck around until I think it was 2006, 2016, but it stuck around for a long time considering this was 1983. There was other films that were filmed. There was some Adam Sandler movie that was filmed there. But the cabin itself was burnt down by some Friday the 13th fans.
I'm gonna kill you.
Like, why would you do that? So they apparently went to see the barn, like to see the set, and then their car broke down and they had a party in the house, and then they decided it was too cold, so they lit up the fireplace. But the fireplace was obviously a prop and caught fire, and the house was burnt down. Yeah, so it's quite sad. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, much like the guy who was picking a rabbit up like by its scruff and then not even holding it correctly. Like, I gotta say, the whole time that scene is happening, I'm like, oh, the rabbit, you're not even holding him properly. Like, it was making me very anxious.
But the rabbit did scratch him, I saw, so that was. You know,
I know.
Good payback. But yeah, I do agree with you that the lighting was probably not as good as the second one. I thought Steve Miner did a better job. Like with this, there was more Steadicam shots and point of view shots in the second one. But I think with the 3D, they had to make a lot of allowances for the 3D.
That's what I was wondering about as well.
Yeah. I agree with you in the body of it, but I felt that first scene was actually quite nicely shot.
It has a grottiness to it. Like it just seems kind of before we went live, we were talking about pornos, and it kind of has that dirty 80s porno. Like Nathan and I would watch his dad's pornos back in the day. And it kind of has those Devil in Miss Jones type feelings, like that high budget porno, which isn't that good. But I guess that is also, you know, pornos and horror movies of the 80s really are kind of the same. I'm sure the crew worked 1 week that week, 1 week then working on a porno.
It was just another gig.
I hope it's not 3D though.
I bet there is.
Oh my God.
I'm sure that was a thing.
Probably.
Yeah, but I thought
I liked that there was a new, Doomsayer. Although he didn't last very long. Like, I like that he was more of the time, like before we had Ralph, and now we've got like this hippie sort of Easy Rider looking guy with an eye that I was like, is that trying to look at it?
Yeah, it seemed like it was like a tack on, like we need this Doomsayer. Like I do like him though, but like it just seemed like a kind of a repeat. They need something different other than it's got a death curse. Well, he didn't do death curse, but it was basically that. Yeah. But yeah, so I do miss the Steadicam shots, but instead there was a lot more of the sort of crane panning shots up from the top of the barn
stairs.
to the bottom of the barn, or down the
There was
stairs.
a lot with the spiral staircase. Watch them go up. Watch them go down.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that staircase was quite a set piece.
Yeah, they wanted to get their money's worth out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously
Do
there
people
was.
even have spiral staircases anymore?
That wouldn't be a primary thing, but I guess it is a cabin in the woods, so
Yeah. I think
Doesn't
people
seem like
don't have it
something
in houses, but they might have it in like a cool loft apartment or something like that.
yeah,
Very
true.
true.
But it was filmed in LA, I think, due to the 3D, and that it was starting to make more and more money with each sequel. So it wasn't actually filmed on a lake. So the lake that's in the film does look very set like, because it is like only a few sort of centimeters worth of water.
It's pretty much like Lassiter's Lake.
It does look like Lassiter's Lake from Neighbours.
It's like the Channel 10
Yeah, it didn't have that.
We just show reflections.
Yeah, like, because the original lakes, like, they were quite picturesque, like in the moonlight, like it was
Yeah,
quite
true.
nice, and they were kind of a star of it. Whereas this one, you saw some dirty, muddy water, but it wasn't like a big part of it.
That is true.
So should we have a look at the actors? So we've got Chris is the main final girl, Dana Kimmel. What are your thoughts on her? So you're
I
a
like
fan,
her a lot.
aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I like her a lot. I feel she's really resourceful. She didn't make many silly decisions. I found her quite personable. Yeah, I liked her.
Yeah, she's very 80s. I didn't think there was a lot to her, but I don't know. I just think she did a competent job.
I mean, they never really seem to flesh them out as fully fledged characters. They sort of exist to react to the action for me, normally. And she did that competently. And I liked her ending. I thought that was appropriate.
Her what?
Getting driven off in the car, like just ranting.
Like laughing and screaming. And
I don't know about that.
Texas Chainsaw, like that sort of hysteria.
Yeah, that's what I got. It's like, it felt like they're trying to copy Texas Chainsaw, but they didn't do it as well.
They didn't do it as well. No, absolutely not. But I kind of liked that. Yeah, that would break someone. We're not all just going to bounce right on back.
Yeah, I just
scream laugh.
I don't know if I believed her portrayal of it.
No, she could have done it.
But I thought she did good, like, through most of it, especially like recounting. Well, not even recounting it, but like the lead up to her recounting her prior attack with Jason. Like, I thought, she sort of showed you that there was something that had previously happened. I thought that was quite good how she acted that out.
Yeah, and I believed her sort of recognition when she saw him again.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I'm back in this nightmare again. I thought that was believable.
I thought it was good once she stepped up and became the final girl, like, and that whole scene sort of in the barn, like fighting back. I thought she did a really good job then.
Yep, agreed.
But it's really the only thing that she's done. She hasn't really done. Most of the actors I've gone through and had a look, and most of them haven't done anything since the 80s. And if they have done something, it's like some Friday the 13th fan film.
Right. The only one I thought might have done something else, only because he looked familiar, was the guy who played Shelley.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've seen him in other things.
But on IMDb, like when it says like the top cast for Friday the 13th, he's not even listed on the top cast. You've actually got to go into the full breakdown of all the really cast and crew, and then he's in there.
Because he would think that would be exactly right. Of course, they don't care about me.
I thought he was really good, though.
Asshole. He's such an asshole. They're like so perving on that chick that he was set up with, and then when she doesn't want him, he's like calls her a bitch and stuff. I'm like, nah, sorry, mate. You deserve it. I'm glad you get done.
I'm surprised you say that, because I thought he, like, going back to Extraterrestrial, like, I thought he was a much more believable, annoying jerk than what that guy was in Extraterrestrial. Like, I thought he played it pretty good.
Oh, he played it well, but I felt like the character, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to sympathize with him, because I wasn't. I wasn't sure of the viewpoint of the film of his particular character.
He was in
I thought he was
Fame.
almost meant to be the comic relief, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, which normally makes them lovable, but
Yeah.
he wasn't. He was actually quite nasty.
Oh, I didn't find him to be nasty. Like I found, like with that whole scene where they go to the shops and there's the bikies. I thought the bit with him and like when he runs over the bike and he's like, I did good, right?
Yeah.
And like that camaraderie between the two, I thought was quite nice. And then
I agree. I was on his side until that scene by the fireplace. I was like, oh, you're that guy. You.
Yeah. So I thought he was meant to be just like the comic relief, but also the geeky one that sort of just come along for the ride, whereas everyone else looks like they're a little bit more polished and more centerfold-like.
And he kept saying how fat he was. I was like, he's not fat. I mean, he's a little on the pudgy side, but come on now. He's a normal looking guy.
I think for, like Nathan said, for Friday the 13th characters, he was obese.
He wasn't wearing a crop top.
Cover the heart.
Guys wore crop tops back then. It was not on him.
Oh, God. Yeah,
but I thought he was quite good. I thought Vera, Catherine Parks, I thought she was really good too. She was the one who was set up with Shelley. Like, obviously, Chris and Debbie aren't huge fans of Vera because I don't know why they would think that those two would be a great match.
No.
But I thought she was really good. Like, I thought she played it really well.
Maybe I hadn't seen that side of him. Because if you just thought he was a lovable love, then yeah, why not? Could be with anyone, really. But yeah.
I thought the worst actor was Rick. Like, I thought he was terrible.
Yeah, he wasn't good. But I do think, like, oh no, we'll get on to deaths later. It's all good. I was going to say though, I liked how how when Chris drove up in her van, she had her name like painted on the side where she was driving. I remember they used to do that all the time in the 80s. They would drive it on, like painted on the driver's side, and now you wouldn't want people to know your name, but yeah, I thought that was a cute little touch, like that they put her name on the side of the car and stuff. And I love that scene, when he's doing the yo-yo and it actually hits her in the face, and then she goes, "Oh, that was close."
That's close.
Not you in the face.
So she gets run over by a car and like, oh, that's close. It's like, no, you were hit.
No, I don't think you understand what close means.
Yes.
Yeah. But with that yo-yo scene, that was one of the ones where they were doing it for an obvious like 3D gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
Going right at the screen. So I was watching with my glasses trying to figure out if these worked or not, going like that way. I think it did.
It is, because that's one of the comments I've got to say about the film is like I adjusted my projector because I thought, is it out of focus? Like bits were in focus, but the edges of it were, majority of it was out of focus.
Yeah, which I think is because it was shot in 3D and they were condensing down. Because if you looked around the edges, you could sort of see the blue and red outlines as well.
Oh, okay.
So when I wore the glasses, they disappeared.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think the 3D had as much pop maybe as in the cinema as I remember, but it definitely cleaned things up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I thought part 2 for me, the version that I have that's on streaming was super clear, like it was like amazing, whereas part 3 was like this isn't that very good.
Yeah,
the quality of the film.
I think that's why though.
Yeah. Would have been good to have seen it actually 3D.
Yeah,
I mean, for this review, obviously I have seen it actually,
but to see it again would be it
would have been nice.
Amazing.
I wonder we knew someone with like 3D, one of those 3D PlayStation things, PlayStation VR. You can watch 3D movies with that.
Oh, I know someone.
You know everyone.
So should we talk about the best bits?
Mm-hmm.
So Sue, what was your standout moments of the film? Besides the kills, outside of...
that's make it hard. I guess I really liked the scene when after a kill, someone is sitting on a hammock and the blood drips down onto the hammock and she's reading a Fangoria and it's an article about Tom Savini. I thought that was cool. I liked that whole scene. I thought that was really well done. and the whole, what is that? And looking up and seeing what's actually happened. I thought that was great. Like that was perfectly executed in my.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, especially the insert of the Fangoria magazine. That's like very much of its time. I used to buy those as well, and yeah, it's like I completely forgot about that magazine.
Oh, it's still going. It went away, really? But it's come back. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, no, that I enjoyed it. Probably a big part just because of that insert.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Yeah, that was a good scene. But yeah, like I said, I think I enjoyed the bit with Shelley and Vera. Like I really liked their back and forth.
That scene.
Yeah, like both, like I said, the bit with the bikie gang, but also I liked the bit at the fireplace where he's like coming on strong and she's like, come on, like this isn't gonna happen, but let's talk about it. Once I go for a little stroll in the moonlight for some reason. But
and his wallet, his Velcro wallet. I forgot everyone had those. The Velcro.
That made me so nostalgic for the Velcro wallet.
Right? I remember that sound, that sound when people open their wallets. Like, ah, yeah,
money.
I don't even have a wallet now. It's all digital.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
don't
really?
Carry cash at all.
Yeah, I don't take my wallet with me.
Jeez, I still have a giant handbag.
But yeah, I appreciate the 3D-ness of it. Like, even though we're not seeing it in 3D, it just cracks me up. Like, like when at the beginning when he's adjusting the clothesline and it's like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then the baseball bat. Yeah, I thought there was so many fun elements of that. It made me just want to watch it in 3D. Whereas like nowadays, 3D, like a lot of the time it's post produced. Like they don't actually film it in 3D. And if they do, like it again, they don't make allowances, or it's not like a feature of the film. Whereas
back for it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So I kind of like the kitschiness of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I never even thought about that. But yeah, they don't do shots that are like coming at you just for that purpose.
Yeah.
No, like back then it was almost more like we can do because we will. Like they did the same in Jaws 3D as well. A lot of those just straight to the camera shots. Just I don't know. A lot of it to me, I enjoyed those bits, but at the same time it took away from the movie being a scary movie. It just felt more novelty.
Yeah. Well, apparently this was the first time that it had been like decades since Paramount had actually done a 3D movie. Like it was, I think, like the 50s was the last time that they'd done it, and it was because of Jaws 3D. And then they thought, well, we'll do Friday the 13th in 3D as well. So yeah. I thought that was fun. But I also, of course, you've got to mention the music. The music's always a standout. And that disco intro music. Like, I love that. If you watch some of our older episodes, we use that that piece of music in our intros for our original videos. It's just iconic. Like, it's so 80s. Like, it's amazing.
I've got to admit, with our old videos, I didn't realise where that came from. I know that music.
Yeah, they've stolen our intro music.
Every time.
And I like in the credits how they're like.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's cool. Amazing.
Yeah, I love all that. I mean, I love the 80s. Everyone knows I love the 80s. So. Yeah, so cool. Bring it on. Yeah,
the kitsch factor, the 3D, the music, they were all standouts for me. Over maybe performances and plots were secondary, but those nostalgia was next level for me. Like,
but then even like those 80s bikies that popped up earlier in the movie, and like the chains and the bandanas and everything, that's clearly of its time as well.
Yeah.
Well, I did. You know how you said about the 3D taking away the fear factor, but I was thinking, like, is anyone really watching this thinking they're going to get scared? Like, really? I don't know. I mean, was it meant to be scary? I didn't think it was meant to be a scary horror.
No,
I
but
think it was.
I think
Like,
it
I
was
don't think it
meant
was
to be,
scary.
maybe.
Yeah, I think it was meant to.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I didn't find it scary, but
No,
I think it was probably meant to be scary.
Like, I hate to compare them, but I found part 2, there were bits towards that end, like where Ginny's holding the door closed and she's in the bathroom, and then you think that Jason's going to come through the door that she's holding, but he then comes through the window. Like, that made me jump. And it was quite suspenseful when they were doing the running after each other, running and hiding. I thought part 2 did a good job of that. Like, maybe it wasn't scary, but it was suspenseful. And there's a few
and
jumps.
I didn't feel any of that with this one.
No.
would be the bit down when they were going, there's someone in the dark with us, only because I guess it's not necessarily scary to me in the context of that film, but because I can imagine that situation with a real person being very scary. But the only one of these films that really makes me feel a little freaked out and uncomfortable is part 4, but we'll talk about that another time. Even part 1 doesn't really scare me.
No.
Maybe it did this time. I can't really remember. It's been
Yeah,
so
I think
long.
back in the day, but we've watched it so many times now. It's
Yeah. Although I've seen Black Christmas 20,000 times and it still makes me jump.
yeah, probably less so for me now too. So let's get into what we really want to talk about, which is obviously the killer kills. So, yeah, what did you think of the kills in this film?
I thought some of them were pretty creative. And
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, no, creative, and I guess in terms of kills, I enjoyed it. But to me, the movie didn't feel like a scary movie. It felt more just like almost a send-up of the Friday the 13th movies, in that just trying to make the kills more elaborate and more shocking and that sort of stuff, but without actually being scary.
Yeah. See, I found that this is one of those tropes that around sort of the mid 80s that horror films fell into was, if you just pierce the skin, you're going to die.
Yes.
It's like, like you get cut, like you're dead. Like instantly dead.
Blood spurting everywhere.
It's like, I think, like, no, like, sure, that may, like, getting that
hurt and incapacitated, but
yeah. So thinking of the guy, the shop guy at the start, like, he gets stabbed in the chest, but would that kill you instantly? I don't think it would.
It only went directly into the heart.
But it was like in the middle, so it might break your rib cage, but I don't think you would die from a broken rib cage.
I mean, there's plenty, especially the gut stabs. That would not kill someone immediately being stabbed in the gut. And they all seem to just go, and die. And you're like, no, you'd be in pain for hours, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
You wish it was instant.
Except the leader of the bikie gang. Then he gets bludgeoned to death, like, over and over and over again. But then he
comes out with just a threat.
Yeah, just at the right time. Like, he didn't die and gets bludgeoned again. And we don't know. Maybe he still survived from that. Like, who knows?
I think Jason was just pissed off at him. I think he actually enjoyed that one.
Yeah, he did. It was like, wow. I think he's dead now, Jason.
When I kill you, you stay dead.
Yeah.
But my favorite death, obviously, is the guy doing the handstand.
Yeah, Andy.
Yes.
So he was cute.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
No, but yeah, to think that you're going to get chopped in the nuts, like.
I know, and I'm not even with those bits, but it still makes me go, Jesus Christ! Like,
I didn't realize that's what happened. I just thought he's handstanding and then like sees a knife coming towards his face, but
because he's sort of like walking on plexiglass, so the camera's underneath the plexiglass, like we're underneath the floor, and then Jason's over.
That shot just jarred with me. It didn't feel right.
Mm.
Just because suddenly we're under that glass rather than under the.
Yeah,
I agree.
No,
I know what you
I
mean.
just
Like it's
I
took me out
understand.
of it for a moment. It's like, what's going on there?
yeah, and
Oh,
then by
really?
then it's like over with.
Yeah.
It did happen really super quick, but I liked the whole idea of the death. And then, yeah, it went into that other scene that I really like. And then she looked up and saw him in pieces, and that whole sequence I liked.
But if you were cut in half, because it did
I
seem
know.
like you would be
Didn't make
chopped, and it seemed like
cut.
he was chopped in half, like crossways. But then he would be chopped that way. And again, like
Yeah.
if you were chopped that way or either way, there would be shitloads of blood and guts coming out. Like it wouldn't just be like little droplets. Unless he
Yes,
like wrung him out and then put him up there.
No,
But
where's
yeah.
he getting this like super sharp knife? It's like what shopping network does that come from?
the
Yeah.
machete.
Doesn't have a blunt. It just.
I
Like,
think it's a
goes straight
Ginsu.
through.
Yeah, exactly. It cuts through knives. It cuts through like tin cans and tomatoes.
And shoes and people.
Yeah, they didn't have that on the end. But yeah, I do like that death. And
what
I kind of
about
like Rick's death.
that.
Yes, because that's horrible, and because he was like right there, she was right there, and he was like couldn't even call out to her. Like that feeling of some help being right there, and you can't even get it. is
but it
kind
looks
of-
ridiculous. Like you can tell it
It
doesn't
doesn't
look
look-
anything like him.
No, I agree.
The eye pops.
No, not at all. It's more the ideas of these deaths and the
Yeah.
way that were carried out.
Yeah.
But also with some of them, like that one in particular, it's like, all right, it's a little bit different. So in the past movies, Jason, all right, his backstory, all right, he's a little kid, just sort of left off in the woods to fend for himself for quite a while. But now he's got super strength as well, and had a haircut. Because in the last movie, he had like,
He had long
hair
hair.
everywhere.
And it was a
So now
day
he's
in
got
between 2 and 3.
I know, but he's had like a nice sort of shave, and his clothes are nice and clean as well, and he's got super strength. It's like, what happened?
Someone on something I was watching on YouTube opened my mind that maybe Jason drowned like back in the day when he was a little boy, and he's been a ghost this whole time. Like we think of zombie Jason is, after part 6, but maybe he's always been resurrected. Maybe this is like a resurrected Jason, like because he does have, he got chopped like only a day before, through. If you got chopped in your shoulder blade, you would not be able to lift anything. Like that's going to take a long time to heal. So maybe,
True.
yeah. So maybe
he's clearly physical, and there's no backstory in terms of how or why that happened.
Yeah, but that probably at least
Interesting
makes
idea.
sense. Otherwise, the timeline doesn't really make sense. Anyway.
There's some great fan films out there.
Don't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enjoy it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. It's just fun.
Enjoy the gore and the boobs and
I really liked when when she wrapped the rope around his neck and he fell down, and they had that shot from underneath where he's going like this on the way down. Love that shot. That's such a good shot.
And that would be amazing in 3D as well.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about the fact that he finally gets his iconic look in this film. So obviously he's gone from sack to hockey mask.
He's like, I like this much better. I just keep this.
Even though I don't think it'd be easy to see through either of them, particularly.
Well, he does have a bung eye.
Yeah, it's true.
Which we don't really see much of, but that's funny because it's like for the first part of the movie, we actually don't even see him much. We just sort of see like lurking and every now and then a hand and that sort of stuff.
True. Yeah, true.
And that's sort of what I said before, that we don't see the point of view shots from him this time. It's more like we saw him walking into shots, or we see him lurking. Which do you prefer, the point of view shots or the lurking sort of shots?
Well, I think with the lurking, it felt like they were deliberately not showing him. And I didn't really feel. I don't know. I didn't really feel it. To be honest.
I guess the point of view shots is more like Jaws, that
Yeah.
you still don't see him, but you get a sense that he's there. I just don't think in part 2 they did a very good job of keeping him out of the way. Like the eye lines were all out.
The islands, right?
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of depends on my mood which one I prefer. I kind of think that I prefer the point of view shots from part 2.
I hadn't really noticed it, but when you say that, yeah, now I'm thinking about it and thinking that when you see the lurking stuff, it feels more like Nathan said, like a decision of a filmmaker, where so you're more aware of I'm watching a film, whereas the point of view ones didn't necessarily feel that way. So yeah, point of view is probably more successful.
Well, let's talk about what's good and what's bad. And if it were up to me, how would you do the film? So, Nathan, if it were up to you, if you were to go back in time and remake this film or make this film for the first time, what do you think is successful, or what do you think you would change? What do you think is not as successful?
I think I would try and ground it and make it a bit more believable. So things like changing the lightings, a lot of the nighttime shots were just too overlit that it didn't feel dark and realistic. It didn't feel scary. It was fun. I enjoyed that, but I would make it a lot more grounded, a lot more scary, and maybe even potentially explain why Jason, why he now has like super strength. And he's also a really good shot. Like the first time he picks up a spear gun, he gets one like right.
How many times do you think he's picked up a spear gun before? Like, I don't think there'd be a lot of opportunities to be doing that.
But yeah, no, I would just try and bring it back a little bit. It just felt a little bit campy or almost like a send up of itself. I'd make it a little bit more realistic.
So how about you? What would you do to improve the film?
Well, I agree actually, but I also think that the characters weren't overly memorable. I'm not sure why, but I was trying to remember them all and going, no one really had a strong character except Shelley, really. And it would have been nice if they all were fleshed out. Like they had a character who was pregnant, but that was never really talked. They could have done so much more with that situation. And they could have done something quite nasty death-wise. If you wanted to.
I just felt like they had a lot of characters in there. They were all just padding, waiting for them to be dead.
Yeah, and it would have been better if you didn't feel like they were just waiting to die, essentially. I know I was well aware that the only people of color in the film were baddies, and I was like, oh, that's a bit on the nose.
Yeah,
I know it's the thing of the time, but it would have been nice if that wasn't quite happening.
Yeah.
And that death when that woman dies with the thing in the eye, and then they have a shot of her. She's not lying down. She's like sitting on her elbows. I'm like, what the hell?
Rigor mortis has already set in.
I probably would have maybe fixed that sort of thing.
Yeah,
like better characters and a little bit more diversity and a bit more realism.
See, for me, you know what I'm like. I love the camp factor. Like, I agree with everything you're saying, Nathan, about the overlit side of it and it looking sort of setish. I'm thinking of when Rick and Chris are having their deep and meaningful next to some little babbling water feature with the Volkswagen in the background. It looked very set-like, like something you see on Saturday Night Live or something. But I think it was to do with the 3D. But for me, the biggest thing on rewatching it that disappointed me was the script, and not much happens at all, and I don't really care about these characters. Like, I think of the first two, they did set that up. I think the first one did a really good job of doing that, and I think the second one probably not as good as the first, but still continued that. You still got a sense of all of the characters. Whereas this one, it's like, there's a pregnant character, and that was like a throwaway line, but now you've got an idea of this character. She's pregnant. Okay, let's move on. It's like, no, we need more than that. And like the hippie characters, I always forget that they're even there. It's like, what the hell? Like, there's no connection.
I don't understand why these people are together, or Yeah, they could have done so much more with that, and it's
There was no
frustrating.
chemistry between the characters. Like it was, very disappointing in that way. And yeah, I think the kills they just happened because it felt like it was part of what needed to be done. Tick that off. Tick that off.
Yeah.
The only bit I did like was like I keep going back to that. I thought it was good between the bikies and them coming to
Right.
sort of take revenge, because that did sort of set off more sort of, oh, what's going to happen now, more than what it did for Jason. Like Jason lurking about didn't feel as like the characters were at threat more than it did for the bikies and the characters.
I get that.
It's like, oh shit, now they're in for it. Like, well, hang on a minute. There's also this deranged killer, like, but you don't really think that about the threat of that.
Yeah.
And you were right. That was the only scene that gave any of the characters any kind of texture, like any sort of, more than just he's the nerd, she's the pretty girl, blah blah blah. Like they actually were talking, and you got more of a sense of who they were.
Because I watch these films because I think, oh, what would I do? And in that bikey scene, I think the same thing. Like, oh fuck, like it's probably something that I would do is like run over the bikey's wheel, thinking it's a good idea, then thinking, oh shit, now like they're going to come after me. Whereas you should be thinking about like if a serial killer is coming after you, what are you going to do? But I didn't really think about that much in this film. It felt more like Nathan said, like a parody, like a send up, like something you didn't really take it as seriously as I did in 1 and 2.
Well, most of the characters didn't even realize that he was coming after them. Most of the kills were just like surprise. Just like, here I am.
Yeah, that's true. There wasn't much of a build up of people getting afraid and finding their friends and going, oh my God, we're in danger. There was just, and you're dead, and you're dead, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, so Chris backstory, like of her being attacked, but then we're meant to believe that Jason grabbed her and then let her go without any memory. Did he rape her? Like, what happened with that? Is there a Jason, other side to him that we don't know about? Because that never comes up in any other films. But
how did that happen around the events that happened in the earlier films?
Yeah, it must have happened in between 1 and 2.
I guess.
Like before 2, I thought.
Wouldn't it have been better if it was like the mum that grabbed her?
That would have been good. Like that would have been more interesting.
Yeah. Well, we did the mum popping up in the movie, and I thought it was interesting how the first opening scene, rather than just a quick recap, it's actually just playing out pretty much the whole last scene from the last movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a little bit weird. And then obviously we get kind of mum popping up again at the very end.
Well, what did we think of the end?
There was a lot of preamble that they could have spent actually, fleshing out the characters. Like we didn't really need the whole hillbilly rabbit scene. I mean, I liked it, but they didn't really need it necessarily. They could have worked on the characters that we're going to watch.
Yeah.
I think it's like setting up the tropes of Friday the 13th. So in part 2, we had that whole thing with what's her name, Adrian King's character, and then they've sort of tried to do the same thing, like that sort of James Bond pre-credit sequence, unrelatedness.
Yeah. I know people don't want to watch a film and wait for a death. Like I think slasher audiences want a death at the beginning,
That's
and then
true.
settle in. But they could have done it a bit neater and a bit smaller. Like we didn't need as much as we had.
Yeah, there wasn't really much point for him like to change clothes, like for him to go and steal their washing. Like, if there was more reason for him to be involved with those two, then I can understand. But yeah, it just was very, very random.
Yeah.
No, I had the book. I used to have the book, and I remember there was and there was a bit about backstory with him and them. But I looked on my bookshelf and I can't find it. I can't imagine I would have given it away, but I don't know where it is, to be honest. But I do remember because I was watching the scene going, oh my God, I've read about this. I used to have the novelization of this film.
Oh, wow.
Instead, I still have all the Nightmare on Elm Street novelizations.
Wow.
I can't find the Friday one.
But yeah, at the end, there's that kind of dream sequence where she's like drifting off on the canoe, and then you think the mum comes up out of the water and she's all wormy and got no eyes, but she's still got her and somehow still alive. And
I like the worm.
And you see Jason like
Big
looking
props
out
for
the
the worm.
window of the house, just watching her and that sort of thing. So it was a little bit weird and disjointed, but then kind of almost, what's the point? Because it was just a dream. Didn't
But
really
that's the
happen.
trope. That's sort of what I like. I do like a format, and they sort of had stuck to the format. But I think this film, it's starting to feel like they stuck to the format a little bit too rigidly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we really needed Pamela coming up and pulling Chris under the water, especially because
No.
it was that shitty pretend lake with like all those logs in it. It's like that doesn't look good.
I'm gonna drag it down to this like knee-high water.
Yeah, it's like, But I did think that Jason looks good, like in that bit where he's like, got the blood dripping down with the weird eye, and his mask looked really good. Yeah, I think it's one of the best looking Jasons.
And they did save that look until pretty much the end. But I guess they did that in number 2 as well, saved unmasking him until the end.
Yeah. Another trope. We should do a Friday the 13th drinking game. I'm sure there's one out there. If anyone knows of a Friday the 13th drinking game, tag us, and we'd be happy to participate.
Yes, please. And probably one of my favorite bits is when she was stuck in the car and Jason comes after her with the hands and she just winds up the window.
I know. Then he smashes it with his face.
I mean, that was like believable. That's like something I would do.
It's her van. Like, it's got her name painted on the freaking thing, and she doesn't think, maybe I need petrol. I'll just flip. Like, she sits there for ages going, come on.
Yeah.
Like, is that an obvious thing, petrol? Like, come on.
She's being chased by a deranged serial killer, Sue, so cut the poor girl a slack. So, who went first last time?
I think I did. Sue's turn.
Okay, Sue. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, this isn't going to scare me, and it isn't the kind of horror film that I would put on to be scared, but it was campy, cheesy fun. I guess I have fond memories because of us watching it in 3D at the cinema, so I'm never going to not like this, to be honest, because even with all its faults, it's still fun. So it's a Pash from me.
Okay, Nathan, let's hear from you.
Yeah.
Pash or trash?
Well, probably a bit similar to Sue in that I thought it was very campy, kind of a send-up of itself, not scary, but at the same time, and it was definitely trashy. But I enjoyed it. So it's a trash, but it's also Pash.
A Pash and a trash.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Pashy trash.
A Pashy trash. Okay.
Pash.
Wow, I love it. That stinks, I reckon. No one wants a Pashy trash.
No.
So for me, I love my Friday the 13th. And it depends on the mood. Like, I love, like I said, the campy factor of it. It doesn't make me scared really at all. There's no real jumps. I think the story has huge, what story? Like, it is just a roller coaster of a ride without really much going on. But I do enjoy the characters. I think, some of the kills are quite good. So it's something that I always put on and enjoy. Looking back now, I don't think it's my favorite, especially out of the 3 that we've watched so far. But I'm still going to give it a big old Pash. So there we go. We've given it some Pashes and some trashy Pashes. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. You can also connect with us on our social media. So we've got our Facebook, which is Horror Movie Freaks. Just give us a search. Or you can find us on Twitter, which we're under Horror Movie. Or we're now on Instagram. Instagram's going off. People are loving it there. So you can find us at the Horror Movie Freaks on Instagram. So previously in the week, we have put up some polls on our Instagram. So the first poll was, do you prefer Friday the 13th or over Friday the 13th Part 2, which is your preference? And our viewers gave it 75% for Part 2 and 25% for Part 3. So the majority of them like Part 2 over Part 3. How about you guys? Which one did you prefer?
Yeah, I would be the same. Definitely Part 2 over Part 3. Part 2 I thought was suspenseful and scary. Part 3 was just fun.
Agreed. Although before I'd watched it, I would have thought I would prefer Part 3, which is really funny in each way perspective.
Yeah, memories are a little bit different to the reality of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same. I was like, I did always think that there was a closer ratio between the two. I thought that I liked them sort of on par, but I agree. I thought Part 2 is my preferred sequel so far. And we also put to our viewers, as we did previously with Part 1 and Part 2, which Friday Final Girl is the preference. So out of this one, so Part 2 is Ginny or Part 3 is Chris. And our Instagram audience thought that Ginny was the best of the Friday Final Girls. How about you guys? Do you agree with our audience?
Yep, I'm Team Ginny.
No, I would put Chris and then Alice and then Ginny.
Oh!
I do think that Ginny was possibly the most realistic. I mean, she wet herself.
Props for pissing your pants.
Right. But just like with who I prefer to watch, yeah, I would do the order that I said.
So are you saying that Ginny is the least hottest one, Sue? Or are you saying...
I think she is.
Are you taking it by the character or the look?
Probably both.
Okay.
Yeah. But like looks wise, yeah, I definitely would want Chris first.
She was very pretty.
Yeah, she's the prettiest one. But Ginny, I felt I related to her a lot more, and she was a lot more, real.
You're saying Butch?
No, real.
So yeah, we have a lot of fun on our Instagram. So make sure you're following us on Instagram. It's the Horror Movie Freaks. So like I said, this is the middle of our box set. So that's Friday the 13th Part 3 now done and dusted. On the 4th of November, we're going to be reviewing the final chapter. Yeah, the final of the Friday the 13th. Or maybe not, but the fourth one in the series and the final one in our box set. Yeah. So I look forward to that. It's been a while since I've seen that one, and I've sort of always rewatched Part 1, 2, and 3 quite regularly, but for some reason I always get stuck at the final chapter. I know that, Sue, this is one of your personal favorites back in the day.
Many times, actually.
Yeah, I actually don't even remember it, so I'm looking forward to revisiting it.
Corey Feldman and the dad out of Crispin Glover, the dad out of Back to the Future.
I didn't even. I forgot about him. I'm looking forward to it though.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So thank you so much, freaks. Thank you for watching and follow along, and we'll see you next time.